FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. Plenty going on in here. I'm up and about for once, Skeeter. I'm back in business Thursday, the 22nd of May. It's a big preview, round 11. Welcome to the Shelter FootyCast, where WA's best footy show and WA's best beer combine you to bring you the biggest footy news of the round for a preview for round 11. Hi, Skeet.
Hello, Scully. I'm just looking across from you. I'm seeing a can in front of me. I'm seeing some soft lighting, almost like a filter. Is it like trying just a softer focus on both of us because of our heads are not
quite soft on the egg heads doing this show.
Anyway, that's fine. No, in good form. Looking forward to Thursday night footy. Life's a bit better. WA club's going okay, and it's a bit to discuss.
Yeah, so that's a stout. All right, this is the Shelter Stout. All right, export stout right in front of you. As promised on Monday, I'm going to get you to do a taste test in just a little bit. We've got an exciting new segment we're going to be rolling out called "Is the Footy Better with Shelter?" And this week, is the footy better with an export stout? But we're going to get that in a little bit. We're going to get Skeet drinking some stout on the show. So if you're interested in that...
Just bear in mind, it's 8:13 as we speak.
If you're interested in that, you might want to stay tuned for a little bit later on the show when we get Skeet to have a stout, give us his review, and your chance to win, just for drinking a stout, a Southwest giveaway. That's right, Skeet. A night down at the Hilton. We've got dinner at Shelter down in Busselton. We've got lunch at the Par 3 golf course. We've got blocks of chocolate from Chocos. We've got a bottle of Credaro and a carton of Shelter just for telling us, is the footy better with an export stout? But we're going to get that in a little bit. Skeet, let's get into the footy. I'm excited to talk about a few of these ones. Skeet, but some not. Jeremy McGovern to consult AFL concussion panel. It has been spoken about pretty regularly this week across quite a few. I don't know if I've seen this AFL concussion panel come into play in season like we have here. Was it McCartan? Was he the
possibly
last one?
McCartan. And we know that, I think Aidan O'Driscoll, that was pre-season. Angus Brayshaw clearly was possibly in the off-season. But I think, and look, you, to I say, broke the story. I know you mate.
I don't break anything.
Well, you did say that this is more serious than what it was thought, and that's. I mean, you obviously have a closer in on how Gov's tracking, and we all wish him the very best. But yeah, I think once you get to the panel point of view, and having spoken to a professor, and you might have been on the night. In fact, you weren't, but a guy called Alan Pearce, who's a professor, neuroscientist, concussion expert, about when you get to that stage. Obviously, it is serious. It's at a point where the club, the player, the AFL are concerned about the short and long-term health of the player. In this case, it's Gov, which, again, the incident, you talk about McCartan, some of the knocks that he had, which caused concussion at the back end of all the concussions, seemed to be really innocuous. And that seemed to be a bit of the case with Gov. So, yeah, it's really interesting, but obviously a bit of anxiety, I'm guessing, with Gov as to what the future is for him, and whether it's a case of he can take some time off, an extended period, and come back, or whether the doctors and the powers that be say, no, you're not going to be able to go on. That's a big call that will be made shortly.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope his career's not done. You think about his journey from rookie listed to not fit enough to be on the list to is he 6-time All-Australian now?
I think he's 5, but
definitely 5. He's got enough of them. And what he's done, premiership player, leader of the footy club. I hope he hasn't played his last game, but that is a watch and act. Continue to watch and act, Skeeter. So Andrew Dillon, Laura Kane, Simon Goodwin, Clarkson, Chris and Brad Scott. Are they like the Dacosses, Chris and Brad Scott? Like
they travel together.
Yeah, like you can't have Josh and Nick on a broadcast without Pete being shown in the like. Cause seriously, so they're in Melbourne at dinner.
It's supposed to be a pretty good pub in Fitzroy.
So mate, it's not far from our BackChat Studios, and we go there every time, mate. Steak night Monday night. It's cheap steaks on Monday. They're tight asses.
Well, you don't have to be having cheap steaks to be a poor pub. Let's just say that.
That's a good point.
But everyone I've looked on X says, oh, that's a good choice of a pub to go and have a catch up.
So apparently they're discussing MRO. Skeet.
Okay.
Mate, like, I didn't.
Well, I'm surprised you were invited. Because you would have just been, as I say, sizzling with ideas.
The soft cap is an issue that they're speaking about. So that's to do with paying coaches.
And assistant coaches specifically. And maybe putting, I don't think it'll get off the ground, but putting like senior coaches pay in a separate basket.
Yeah, so I wonder what Simon Goodwin, Alistair Clark and Chris and Brad Scott had to say about putting the soft cap up. You reckon they're in favour of it?
Well, I think in brief, why wouldn't you be, given what's happened? I think since before COVID, that the cap was what it was, and then COVID came in and slash. I'm not sure there's been a significant, if any, meaningful lift in that soft cap. And it's more so, in all seriousness, as you know, assistant coaches are burning the midnight oil trying to get the job done. And obviously it's all care, no responsibility because the senior coach cops it. But they're working their backsides off for not a huge reward in the scheme of what the footy industry provides others.
So other items were umpiring, player fines and suspensions and the sub rule. So pretty much every show that we start here, they had to meet and discuss it. Why don't they just listen to the show of FootyCast?
Well, because they've probably got a higher IQ and a better grasp of exactly what's going on. We're just making most of this stuff up as we go along. That's just being... Other podcasts have got a very strong knowledge.
Yes.
We are tiptoeing...
What do we have? If this could be our new tagline, other podcasts have a very strong knowledge. The show of FootyCast has...
Banter.
Yes, that's actually very good. Banter and beers. I like that. So the sub rule... I reckon that'll go.
I don't know if it will go. I know there's a push. And look, I reckon there could be more flexibility about the sub rule, particularly, and we look at the case going back a couple of weeks, Lachie Schultz concussed just, I think, minutes after they had made a substitute Collingwood. I think there has to be some flexibility with concussions and being able to...
Put it back on.
To tweak, yeah, exactly, to have some flexibility. I'm not saying the sub goes, but obviously it was brought in for medical reasons, be it concussion or injury. But if a concussion takes place, and obviously that is a major disadvantage to a team, and sometimes that concussion leads in an opposition player spending 4 to 6 weeks or whatever it is on the sidelines because of the MRI, I think it can be better utilised for clubs that are affected.
Yes, that's not a bad shout, Skeeter. Nathan Buckley firms as a favourite to coach the Tasmanian Devils. Do you think that's a good move?
Oh, I think they do need a bloke that's relatively high profile, but also someone that has to get out there and has to sell the club, not just in Hobart, but around the state. So you've got to be invested. And you're also, in Buck's case, you're not going to a club that's going to be contending early. Let's be honest. If you look at what happened with the Giants and the Suns, it's going to be hard work early, you suspect, despite all the draft choices. So he would definitely be an option, but you'd have to go in eyes wide open. Brendan Gale's a really strong appointment, I would have thought, to lead the club. Bucks, he hasn't closed the door. He's looking at it. Is he better suited to a club like that, or, dare I say it, an established team that's decided they've had enough, for instance, for argument's sake, with a Carlton or a club that might be underperforming, whether he's better suited to going into that area?
I did read some interesting stuff around Nathan Buckley contacting former players of his and saying what he should have done better, because there was, I think, pretty public criticism of Nathan early on in his coaching career and his style, and it wasn't a...
Positive.
It wasn't, well, I don't think it was a develop the kids style. So, I mean, what he was able to do at Collingwood, towards, the back end of his coaching career there, made a grand final in 2018. After, we heard from Eddie McGuire, like he was, death's knock getting fired in 2017. Yeah, I guess I'm glad with the reports that he is sort of checking in to see what he could have done better, because you need someone that develops kids and develops a side. You don't need these are the standards.
So
you either live or die by these, and
So if you go through some of the experienced coaches that are in play, for instance, you think of Adam Simpson. Is that suitable for him?
Probably not, knowing his coaching style.
John Longmire. And just from afar, because
he's built a very strong culture for a very long time.
Yeah, I'm not saying any of these coaches couldn't do it, but in terms of reputation, Ross Lyon, for instance, has a reputation of being able to take a list that's just about there and do a pretty good job with them. I'm not sure he's the bloke either.
I would say John Longmire has continually there just seems to be these Sydney players for a very long time under his coaching reign. You're like, who is this kid? Where has this kid come from?
Well, the NGA.
Yeah.
That's where it's come from.
Yes. How's he going to get that? Are they going to get them?
I think they'll get a lot of concessions, and that's. I think we don't want to see the Giants replicated in the sense of getting smashed for the first 2 or 3 years, do we? I think we want to see some level of competitive. That's the balance they have to get.
Yeah, correct. Sorry, I was just reading on. I'm not listening to you.
I know that. I know you're not listening to me. I'm just trying to have a discussion with myself.
Correct. We've got people listening. They're listening to you, I think.
Good.
Caroline Wilson's reported James Hird wants to coach Essendon again.
And 24 hours later?
Hird denies it and says he doesn't ever want to coach.
No interest in coaching. Occasionally, as a journo, Caroline's a great journo. Occasionally you can say, yep, I got that one wrong.
Yeah, so
she won't, though.
Yeah, correct.
No way she'll come back and say, she'll say, I didn't say specifically that Paul Little and James Hird. Well, I can tell you now, Eddie Maguire ended up texting James Hird to say, mate, better check this out. And so Hird, he said he sat on the couch, saw his name come up, the volume was down, turned it up, and just about, and he was quite serious. He said, look, I've got a business I'm involved with, and people are ringing me up saying, are you committed? Are you this? Are you that? He's got, I think he's pretty happy. He's at Port Melbourne, is that sound right? So I think his son might be there.
Yep.
So he sounds happy, and I don't really know Hirdy, but he's a fine football person, and when he says, and funny, when I looked at the white 2 shot or the 3 shot on Footy Classified, guess who was sitting next to Hirdy? Brad Scott. So, of course, he said, and I think that Brad Scott is the best man to take this club forward.
Oh, my God, no way.
Unless it was Chris Scott. And
I think it was Brad.
I'm pretty sure it was Brad.
So the head coach of Essendon was sitting there while he was saying that.
Yeah, but Eddie was obviously trying to pot Caro in the opposition.
Yeah, but you're not going to sit next to Brad and be like, yeah, I'd love to coach Essendon next year, would you? Oh, that's a stitch up. Oh, that's very, very funny.
But he's also asked about whether he wants to coach another team, and he essentially said no. So, okay, there you go.
All right. This is what I was laughing at before. I don't know what this is about at all. I hope you do.
Oh, yeah, I do. Okay. Yeah.
Former AFL umpire Troy Pannell.
Done a runner.
219 games as of 5/2018. He's on the run after being the mastermind behind a $8.7 million scam.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Well, I'm not sure if he's going to...
Allegedly.
I'm not sure if he's going to do a Tony Mockbill and put the wig on and try and just zigzag his way.
What was the scam?
Look, long story short, I think there was some deal of some business that... Again, this is all allegedly.
Yes, allegedly.
Absolutely. That he had a business that had been set up which involved containers and selling them. And to cut a long story short, I think the allegation is that there was $8 million that was pushed into that business, which has either disappeared or they're asking questions about. So Troy Pannell, now, not just that inquiry, but it goes back. I think there's a couple of articles today talking about the Adelaide Crows looking back at a free kick count going back about would have been 10 years ago. It was he paid. There were 15 free kicks he paid in a game and only 1 to the Crows. Okay. So all this sort of stuff, whether it's linked or not, who knows? And the umpires have had an interesting couple of years. Some of the off-field interests, and I know you've. This has just caught your eye, but this is floating around in Melbourne. And I think he was supposed to appear in an Adelaide court during the week, but guess what? It was like you.
He's probably taken his $8.7 million and gone to the Bahamas. Might need to get in contact with Troy and I'll see him there.
Allegedly.
Yes, allegedly. Absolutely. Don't worry. No one's listening to us, Skeet. No one's taking us seriously. No one's actually... What?
I'm just saying, if you reckon we don't know anything about football, then try putting us into court cases and see how little we know about anything to do that might have relevance and in a judicial sense.
In a business court review of me, Dumb and Dumber up the back. Excuse me, Your Honour.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Sheldon FootyCast, Sheldon Brewing Co., the beer that we can't get enough of. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings. All right, let's get into the Western Australia game, Skeet, and then you are going to taste the export stout, and our people, our good people, our audience are going to have their chance to win a Southwest getaway just for having a stout and telling us whether the footy is better with an export stout. First of all, Skeet, we are going Walyalup versus Yartapulti. That's right. The Dockers v. the Power, Optus Stadium, Saturday night, 6 o'clock. Port Adelaide have won their last 6 of 7 matches against Fremantle.
Yeah, they had a team in those matches. They've got hardly any players available, given I'm hearing, apart from Jason Horne-Francis, was it Darcy Jones? Is it Darcy Jones? Darcy Burns, is it?
Darcy Burns-Jones?
But no, it's Darcy...
Sean Darcy?
No.
Luke Darcy.
Lockie
Sam
Jones.
Darcy.
Anyway, I'm getting the joke. Lockie Jones, yeah, because Darcy plays for GWS. Anyway, Radagalier apparently has been ruled out. Josh Sin is cooked. They have got players just falling by the wayside. And it's round 10. We're allowed to lose their way a bit. So they are very short on manpower. Yes. And this is a game that, Walyalup, in all seriousness, Docker supporters will go to the game on Saturday and say, well, I just expect us to do something stupid and lose the game. But go back to last year, last round, all they had to do was beat Port Adelaide. When I say all they had to do, Port Adelaide were a top 4 side and they couldn't get the job done. They were in a bit of a slide towards the back end of the year. I think what we saw on Saturday, hopefully, is a bit of a template moving forward. They're not going to do that every week. The Giants were poor. But this is a side that's on their knees, Port. They are genuinely on their knees in terms of, I think they're already looking, at Ken Hinkley and the Josh Carr. That's all swirling in the background. So beaten by 70-plus points by the Cats, I expect Walyalup to, you're never going to go in thinking in a smasher side, but this is a game they should not lose at home.
Yes, I agree with you, Skeet. And just remember, if you're a small business owner or even looking at taking your side hustle to the next level, contact Aspect Accountants, Skeeter, because we don't know anything about footy and we don't know anything about court cases and we don't know anything about money either, but Aspect Accountants do. So at the end of this financial year, contact Aspect Accountants for a free initial consultations on all things accounting and tax. You can get in touch with them at aspect.accountants.com.au. That will be the best way to get in touch with Ben and the team there. And our numbers this week, thanks to Aspect Accountants. I've got a nice little one here for you, Skeeter. Since round 7, Freo have taken only 7 inside 50 marks per game, ranked last.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it, given the so-called firepower they have there with Tracy and Amos. Amos is taking a bit of a while to get to his feet. Well, last week they found other ways. Michael Frederick, I would have thought, would have helped. He certainly bobbed up and helped Shea Bolton. So they're finding ways last week particularly to get those results on the scoreboards. And you're talking of stats, thanks to Aspect Accounting, they outscored the Giants by 26 points from clearance chains last round, the best result they've had this year. So that is important to note, that despite maybe not taking the marks they would like inside their attacking area, they're able to get the job done. Numbers wise, I think it was 13-17 last week from I think 56 entries.
Yes.
Which is if you're getting 56 plus or thereabouts, you're going to be in a lot of games.
What does it mean from JL? And I quote verbatim here. He said it'll be horses for courses. Darcy to play. What is horses for courses around Sean Darcy? What does that mean?
Oh, I think, it means...
I was lost at that. Does that mean he's going to play waffle or AFL?
Well, they're going to stick to a plan they've sort of had, I think, going back. When you think of Hayden Young came back and played, albeit not maybe enough waffle, but Nat Fyfe came back via the waffle. So I think with him, with Darcy particularly, he came back after his last setback, played a game in the waffle. Only one. Right. I think horses for courses, it's...
I thought it was like it's like an in and out. It was
it's just like for Darcy, depending on Will Schofield needs he needs to get some game time in the waffle. So it's more about Sean Darcy. What does he need? So horses for courses. For him, it means playing. I would have thought I'd be staggered if he doesn't play at least. And if he's playing this week in the waffle, I don't know yet, but yes. I'd be surprised if he's not playing at least 2 games in the waffle before they consider him.
So he won't be playing AFL. We don't think. We don't know, but we don't think.
I think highly unlikely.
Horses for courses.
Horses for courses. Thank you, Bart Cummings.
So look, I've got some alarming news around the Fremantle Dockers, and I did reveal this on 6PR last night, but exclusively here to Shelter FootyCast after I did.
I've forgotten what you said. It was important though.
So Jack Della Maddalena is in town. He's a world champion. He's won the welterweight belt in the UFC. He's won. He's won the belt.
Yep.
Right. So he came in here. We did the interview. All right, you want a photo with the belt? Yeah, we get a photo with the belt, but you've got to hold it, Jack. This is me. So I'm not touching that belt. Only way I'm touching that belt is if I start my UFC career, I work my way up the welterweight division, I take him on in a world title fight, and then I beat him in a cage, and then I'll get to touch the belt.
So you're saying this is Jack's... this is on Jack or on the players that have transgressed?
Well, I haven't told anyone transgressed. So that's what happened in here. I then, on social media, 35 minutes later... Jack had driven to Fremantle for a bit of a just a world tour of his belt. Mate, I see Patrick Voss wearing it. I see Michael Walters slapped over the shoulder. Shoulder. I reckon Sean Darcy was rubbing it down. I saw blokes running around holding that belt like they'd won it. You can't do it, Skeeter. It's bad juju. It's very, very, very bad karma. And unless you won it, you know, like.
So if you win, you've got your 2018 Premiership medal, and I said, can I, have a look? Just me touching it is no.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to do that.
As you are welcome to grab my logie, as you probably have done, and I don't care if you do.
That's such a good example. Why can't you bring that in here?
I will.
Why is that not sitting here? Why is that sitting here? It gives us some credibility.
It is 20 years old, but anyway. That's so you're saying you
unless you want it, don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
If it's in sport,
in
Logie,
sport.
I'm not disrespecting Logie. I should not have touched the Logie. I think I did touch the Logie. I shouldn't have touched the gold Logie.
Wasn't gold, but anyway.
I just think it's.
Do you put your right shoe on before your left foot?
It's not superstitious.
What is it then?
It's if you win it, you get it, and it's yours, and no one else gets it. That's what it is.
Okay.
I went on a bit of a rant about this around the cup because the cup was doing tours and there was people holding it up and carrying on. It's like, no, not yours.
So what are you're basically saying this? You're talking for this weekend or moving forward? This is a bad sort of karma for them, is it?
It's just bad juju. It's just bad vibes. I don't know what it means.
No, well, nor do I. We spent 5 minutes talking about your juju. So let's put it to bed and say that well done to Jack, and he's punching the lights out and going well.
Travis Polk made play, by the way, for Port. He had 37 in the sample 2 weeks ago. Sample by last week. Don't know if he'll come back in. You'd think with all his outs, he'll come back in. Who wins?
As you said, Walilup.
I wasn't listening.
At home.
Okay. I did.
No,
you've already done it.
No, but as I said, no, Walilup, given the outs for Port, how they're tracking, and if they
lose it, you can't lose this Walilup. Walilup can't.
No, if you want to play finals, and as I said, they've got this. They've got Gold Coast away, very tough. The bye.
Yes.
Then North, Essendon, St Kilda, not necessarily in that order, but you're winning. You should be looking to win 4 of those 5.
All right, very good. Kuwana against Woolwich Murrawa. That is the Crows versus the Eagles. Adelaide Oval, 11:10 a.m. Sunday.
That's a pretty average time, isn't it?
Okay, get up nice and early. Oz Kicker, we just finished here. We get home to watch. Maybe a little bit of Oz Kick out. No. Eagles are back. They are back. I very much enjoyed their For the Boys actions. Their actions that were awarded. I heard about team meetings this week at West Coast, and that is what they were awarding. They were awarding people smothering and chasing and tackling. The things that we saw against St Kilda, they want that to be... that's the standard.
To me, and again, there are probably numerous examples, but Liam Baker was the standard setter in that department, and you have to think that he's importance to the team, and that is worthwhile mentioning. You're saying they're back. I'm going to just hold fire for a little bit because the emotion of last weekend and what they did against the St Kilda side, I've got to say, Euro were pretty poor. So the question is, can they, and particularly the defence, hold up again with no Gov, and they've got Thorpe, Fogarty, Walker if all play. Yeah, it becomes a real test. But no, I think in terms of the way they go about it, we've seen in the past, I reckon 5 to 6 weeks, a better output from the Eagles, how they go about it, and it translated into a victory at the weekend. So you're right. If they continue on that vein, they're going to be winning more than one game.
So what about, we'll move on from the St Kilda game in 1 second. So our new producer, Isaac, so Riley, my nephew, is in
just
Europe.
Gallivanting,
right? I saw he was having a pint of Guinness this morning. Isaac has taken over. Isaac, big St Kilda man.
Oh,
right. So we had the Geelong bias over the first part of the year. Now we've got St Kilda bias. Look at this. This is on the run sheet. On the weekend, West Coast average age was older than St Kilda. Do they still have too many players playing that won't be a part of their next final series? Isaac, they beat you fair and square. Don't be filthy about
Isaac, let's be honest. You didn't see their one and only premiership in 1966 because you weren't alive, and I'm tipping you're going to be a pretty old man when St Kilda win their next.
Speaking about 1967.
66.
Speaking about 1966, right? Speaking about that.
Yes.
Before we get back to West Coast, You dismissed me. You made me feel just so small,
yeah.
right? Because I wasn't alive when the moon landing happened.
Well, nor was I.
Right? And you told me black and blue you knew when that was. You said 1966.
Decimal currency.
When the moon landing happened, I didn't have to be alive to know when that happened, and I still do. Do you know when the moon landing was?
Was it 69?
No, 69.
Yeah. As soon as I was seeing decimal currency, St Kilda's last flag, England's last World Cup, and 69, yes, was when Neil Armstrong on the moon. So
it was getting.
They came at me.
Audience was just flooding my inbox with you. Just make sure you tell old Moonhead Skeet already. He said 69.
Yeah, no, as soon as you said that, I knew it was 69 because my wife was born in that year at 66. Was still, I'd mentioned decimal currency. You know,
so you were alive?
I wasn't in 1970, so just give me a bit of a spell. But decimal currency, you heard of that?
What's that?
Decimal currency, it's like our dollar. It's stuff that we've... Anyway.
Oh, the things that I give up every week at tipping? Is that it?
All of the above. That, I mentioned St Kilda's last flag and only flag, yes. Isaac for what it's worth. Barry Breen kicked the winning point. And I did mention the landing. That was 69, but anyway, 66...
Just keeping you in order, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thanks to our listeners for picking me up on a mistake, which I've made. I'm happy to own it.
All right, West Coast, Tom Gross. He's got to get it in the starting 22, I think. Enough of him as the sub. I like him. I don't really care who comes out of the side.
I want to see Tommy also just... He'll learn this. Speaking to Jake Waterman, when he's streaming goalwards, also just have a look outside the tunnel vision.
Is he just?
Oh, there's one case going forward, left of screen, and I think might have been Jaden Hunt, 35, 40 metres by himself, but he went for goal. But they're little learning.
The thing with these players is like. You don't. Sometimes with the young players, you don't get one. You don't get both. You kind of get one or the other. You get a kid that can't really take the game on and doesn't really want to go, or you get a goer, right? And you'd rather the goer that you just have to bring him back a little bit, because to teach someone that plods out of a stoppage and doesn't break a line, to teach them to do that in the first place, like, it's very difficult.
You're right. And look, there's another case that stands out for me this year when Isaac Kako had it for Essendon inside the centre square, streaming. Zach Merritt was, again, 35 metres by himself. He went for goal, Kako. Look, it would have been just a subtle, and he didn't say anything to the captain on that night, but just maybe post-match, I would have looked and said, hey, look, when you've got that opportunity to spot someone else. But no, there's a lot to like about Tommy Gross. I'm not sure how many changes the Eagles will make. Well, they'll make two, because Cripper's gone, and so too Matty O. So two small forwards, and particularly Jamie Cripps he's been outstanding at times this year, hasn't he?
So yeah, Cripper. I saw Cripper yesterday. He's pretty confident he'll be back in 4 weeks.
What's he done?
About. I actually didn't ask him, but he's like, I'll be running within 2 weeks.
Calf for Owies.
Yeah, clean out for Cripper. Like that sounds like a meniscus. Like you can get back from a meniscus in 4 weeks.
Was that involved in that wasn't part of the collision he had with Jake Waterman?
Don't know. It'll be a meniscus or a loose body in his knee. It sounds minor. Loose body.
Loose body.
Loose body of a bone?
No, I don't know. You've got more medical, and you talk like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, correct. So just listen and shut up. Matt Owies did his calf. So there'll be 2 changes. Tom Gross comes in, definitely. Thanks to Aspect Accounting, Adelaide have won their last 5 games against West Coast by an average of 63 points at Adelaide Oval, Sunday morning. I think Kawana win. I think the Crows win.
Yeah, they do win, and win by margin.
Yep. Very good. Okay, Skeeter. Here we go. Strap yourself in. It's stout time. Yes, that's right, baby. Is the footy better with shelter? Let me tell you the concept, Skeet. I've got to sell you as much as the audience. All right. We want to know, is the footy better with shelter? Is the footy better this week with the export stout? I want to know, we want to know, right, after you've had a stout, is the footy better? If you have a stout and you watch Freo's game plan and you suddenly think, wow, this is amazing. Justin Longmuir knows what he's doing and he's got the boys going in the right direction. That's an example of the footy is better, right? Maybe you have a stout and you're a West Coast fan and you suddenly realise the list is really shit, and having a stout, it's making it worse because you're going, oh boy, this is a very bad list and I don't know if we can get much further. We want you to have a stout. Let us know, is the footy better? You got to have a taste of the stout. You got to use some stout. You got to use some imagination. But basically, we'll pick the best and the funniest and the rudest and the ones that bag Skeeter the most, and we'll feature them on the podcast for the next 2 episodes. And then the very best is the footy better with an export stout will win a Southwest getaway, which is a night at the Hilton in Busselton, which I'll be staying in 2 weeks, by the way, before that Kangaroos West Coast game. A bottle of Credaro wine, 2 bars of Otto's chocolate, the new chocolate store down there, thanks to Shelter. Dinner and beer at Shelter on the night for 2 people. Burgers and beers at the Golf Par 3 for 2 people, and a carton of Shelter of your choice, valued at over $800, just for having an export stout and telling us, is the footy better with Shelter? Now, Skeet, you're saying, is that all? Is that all, Skeet?
Is that all?
I've got something that you're going to be very excited about.
Oh, yeah.
So not only do we want you to have a stout, we're going to give you a discount. And usually we might say 20% off, right? 20% off your beers. Well, with Stout 20, right, on the website right now, right, Stout 20, so go to shelterbrewing.com.au, order a stout, put in Stout 20. That will, and I promise you this is happening, take $20 out of my personal bank account. I am giving people $20 to play along in this game, Skate. So not only am I giving up $10 a tip, I'm giving up $20 a carton of Shelter Stout.
So you're working for free basically this year.
Does that make you happy? Do you understand? If people buy the stout, every carton sold of stout, I lose $20.
Have you been catching up with Troy Pannell or something? What's going on? Is there money that I don't know about?
I thought that you might have a bit more excitement.
No,
about that.
I just so if 1,000 people jump on and buy that
offer. Stout 20.
Stout 20.
Yep.
So that translates to $2,000 coming out of your. Is that $2,000?
No, it's $20,000.
20,000.
20 times 1,000 is $20,000.
So you're gonna there's something like the
mate. I'm telling you.
Okay.
So if you want to go and buy 1,000 cartons of the stout to get me down $20,000, you can do that if you like, Skeeter. You actually can. All right, can you crack this and give us a bit of a review?
Can you just tell me quickly, and I'm not a beer expert, what's the difference between...
Do you think I am?
Okay.
Before you answer, tell me.
What is a stout? What's the difference between a stout and say a lager, for instance?
The export stout is the perfect beer for a night in front of the footy, and evenings get colder, the days get shorter. It's rich and comforting. That's what it is. You tell me. I want a proper review here. Can you tell us what it's like?
Now, am I being right?
I want you to be honest, mate. So this is the part of this. It's not, our stouts are the best and everyone loves the stout. If it's shit, you tell me it's shit.
No, I'm not saying shit, but it tastes like a Guinness. Am I on the same sort of page here? That's where I'm heading. Bit hard at 8:45 to give it a genuine.
The taste buds aren't working.
Well,
normally scull it.
But normally you like to be watching the footy when you're having one of those.
That's a good point. All right, give us the breakdown.
Ange Postecoglou.
Skeeter's blind after 2 sips.
Ange Postecoglou. Yeah, he's got a bit of...
What are you talking about?
Well, Ange Postecoglou, he's the man.
Okay. Oh, they won.
They won.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, for goodness sake.
I didn't know. I didn't know. It was
first Australia. Yeah, he got the job done about 3 or 4 hours ago.
So imagine if you had a stout with that. What would you have thought? Tell us about the stout.
Yeah, stout is, again, it is...
Guinnessy?
Is what?
Is it Guinnessy?
Yeah, it's Guinnessy. Yeah. Now, is that the sort of taste I should be having?
Oh, you can have whatever you like.
No, but that's the sort of feel I had from it. So yes, it's heavier. I'm guessing.
Yep.
And on a night of footy, I don't know if you can drink more of these or less of these, but yeah, I'm not all chips in because I need to be watching the footy. But I'll tell you what, there's plenty that do like it, and it's got your signature sizzling sort of.
Yeah, correct. So. Skeet, it's important for you to just give you a proper review. You don't have to say you love it. And in fact, is the footy better with Shelter? If it's not, I want to know. Shelter want to know, right? Because we're going to do other beers.
Yeah,
right?
well, I'm a lager man.
Yeah, so the lager's coming up.
No, that's more me.
Right? So you can be positive about the lager.
But if you said to me, we're going to go and have a stout, you reckon I'm going to complain?
No.
It goes well.
Very good. So just to finalise, get on to Shelter Brewing. Skeet's going back for another one. That'll be empty by the end of the show.
It's getting better.
Great.
No, it's growing on me.
Okay. Shelterbrewing.com.au. It's a little bit like West Coast.
6%.
Like West Coast. Started poorly. 6%.
6%.
Started poorly and it's getting better.
It is getting better as the year goes on.
All right. So shelterbrewing.com.au. Use Stout 20 to get $20 off. $20 off a carton. Thanks for coming. Delivered to you next week to watch the footy. Watch the footy. Tell us if the footy is better with Shelter Export Stout. Great?
Got it.
Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. All right, well done. We got through that, Skate. I thought that was pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's again, you're asking someone who's no expert, but yeah, I've sensed that sort of Guinness feel about it. If that's what a lot of people would.
I don't know how much more we can do there. $20 out of my pocket for a chance to win an $800 prize.
No, I think it's outstanding.
Right, great. Geelong versus Western Bulldogs at GMHBA Stadium tonight. I need a stout. It is tonight. This is the grudge match. It's a proper grudge match. Don't let anyone else tell you anything differently. Bailey Smith, Western Bulldogs hate him. He left because they hate him. And he's come off an ACL and he's second in the Brownlow and he's absolutely dominating for Geelong. He trained inside Tuesday. I saw Chris Scott interviewed about him and he was like, yeah, he trained him by himself. You just didn't see him train. Doesn't mean he didn't train. That to me just signals that something is happening. Look, and you know what, Chris, you've done this to yourself, right? I respect Chris Scott probably more than any other coach in the AFL. Like, he's a brilliant coach, does it year after year after year. But this bullshit with the laid outs, it creates mistrust in what comes out of your mouth. So I hear he trained inside and you didn't see him, and I think he's out. That's what I think.
You think he's not going to play?
Laid out.
Okay.
I hope I'm wrong. But Chris Scott's done this to himself.
So does Seven and Fox and all the promos that have been done.
Chris Scott's done this to himself.
Aspect accounting. Now, if these numbers stack up,
yes,
it could be an absolute beauty. Bear in mind, Geelong's record at home is outstanding.
Yes.
Geelong's averaging 117 points in its last 5 matches at the venue, the most by any team at this round's venue. The Bulldogs, by the way, are the only team over the last 5 rounds to average over 100 points. So if that's the case, and we saw a bit of that with the Giants and the Cats 2 weeks ago, it was essentially a bit of a shootout. Now, the weather obviously is dependent on some of this goal kicking and goal scoring down in Geelong, but I think it's going to be okay today and tonight. So, yeah, look, Bulldogs are looking like a team that could really push the Cats tonight. Tom Stewart's a big in, of course, for him.
Yes.
And they lose some players, including Danger.
But you know what I say about Geelong, and I've said this about Geelong for a long time. Their milestone team, Mitch Duncan's 300th game. That's a bloody good effort. East Perth, boy.
Yep, Trinity boy.
So right around the corner from Aspect Accounting, by the way. They're in West Perth, not far away. Trinity boy, is he?
Yep.
So 300 games, mate. Like, that is an absolutely huge effort. West Australian goes over there 300 games.
How would you? I think he described. He talked about Bailey Smith actually, and said there's some elements of his game that reminded him of himself, and he wasn't trying to be a big head, but
that's probably right.
How would you describe Mitch as a player over the journey? Because there's been so many. You always think of the Joel Selwood and Danger and all these high pro, Jeremy Cameron, Tom Hawkins, big names. He sort of slid under that top echelon, isn't he?
No, he's the glue, mate. So high marker, elite kick. Like, I've heard Tom Hawkins speak about Mitch Duncan, one of the best inside 50 kicks he played with, like high intelligence. So I think about guys that have played for Geelong in the past, like a Corey Enright or a Joel Corey. I wouldn't say Mitch Duncan's exceptionally quick, but he's not slow.
No. But he knows where the ball is.
So smart. And you just need these guys in your side. Like, you can't have 100 Patrick Dangerfields because you wouldn't win with that.
No.
You can't have 100 Joel Selwoods, but you need a Joel Selwood, a Patrick Dangerfield, and a Mitch Duncan. So, yeah, brilliant effort. I saw him get really emotional around the family side of things. Like, it looks like he's become really close with his in-laws and his partner that I believe is from Geelong. And he had them in the room and was really emotional. And it sort of resonated with me a little bit around, he's done the opposite to me. I didn't play 300, but move across the other side. You become very close with your in-laws and the people that, your new connections that you make in another state. So well done to Mitch. And
he's got a man lives here, and I've met him a few times. Terrific fella.
Well, on the back of that, Geelong win. Geelong beat the Bulldogs at home. I don't think that's an upset by any means, but it's going to be a great game. I would expect the Bulldogs to go very hard at Bailey Smith if he plays. Of course, I think they go physically and mentally. Would
it surprise you if they did as Collingwood did after Ed Langdon made the comments about all duck no dinner about the Magpies going back a few years ago, and then the first contest on the outer wing at the MCG, Ed with his headband and his long sleeves got absolutely smashed by about 4 pies.
Look, I don't know how Bailey goes with the rough stuff physically, but I have a feeling that the Bulldogs will have some tickets to spend on the lip. I reckon they'll know a little bit of info. And mate,
is it a liver? Is it a liver type?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a liver. It's a liver. Jeez, I love liver. It's a liver. I reckon it's a Bontempelli. Bontempelli will probably go and have 40 against him though, and say that's his talking. But I reckon there's a few pretty good on the lip at the Bulldogs, and I reckon they'll be going pretty hard. It's going to be very good to watch early. The reason that is, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not, you know, I've been speaking about it a lot. I'm not advocating doing this at lower levels or anything, but at elite level, AFL, highest in the country, Bailey Smith has been prone to being distracted and, you know, flipping the bird. It's all good, but he listens to the crowd and he gets involved in banter and scraps. Players like that, if you're the opposition and you want to win, which is what matters, you go, how do we get this guy off his game? Because he's second in the Brownlow. He's their best player.
But he'd also, that being said, Chris Scott and him would have discussed it to some level. He knows what's coming potentially.
Yeah.
So maybe that leaves him better prepared to handle.
Or worse. Sometimes you can build it up in your own mind. Not that I've ever been in this situation, but different sorts of things where you're like, oh, it's coming, and maybe it doesn't.
And you know the fans, as they come through the gates, I'm told today, are going to be given headbands.
Are they?
Absolute white headbands.
Of course they are.
Yes.
Do it well down in Geelong. They'll be wearing their moccasins already. Who are you picking?
I'm going to, the milestone element. This game's played at Marvel. I'm switching camps with Cats with no degree of confidence. It is a genuine 50-50 game for mine.
Essendon v Richmond, MCG, Friday night. Dreamtime at the G. Essendon have won the past two Dreamtimes at the G by 12 and 1 point. So it's been pretty good contests. You know, some of the other marquee games around during the year, we don't get that sort of contest, but it feels like both of these sides lift for this sort of game. Jade Gresham is expected to be back for the Bombers after missing some time with the injuries. Noah Bolter is out with curfew.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not funny. It's almost...
It's bizarre. It's one of the...
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen anything court ruling like this for footy.
So they lose Noah Bolter. Tom Lynch is out with the delayed concussion protocols. And there is a confirmed debutant, Angus Clark, debuting for Essendon. Tell us about him, Skeet.
Yeah, you know, good young player. I like him. And I think we'll see that tomorrow night.
Defender. He's a defender. Oh, as if I know. He's a defender. He won both of Essendon's 2K time trials, so he can run.
He can run. I'll tell you. I'll tell you what though. Just with those outs, Richmond's won 11. Did you say this? 11 of its past 13 against the Bombers at the G, dating back to 2014. So for some reason, some clubs match up well, and obviously Dreamtime. It's getting a bit lost. The Dreamtime match this weekend, I reckon, with the Sir Doug Nicholls round going over 2 weekends, but. Ordinarily, this would be a marquee match. I don't think so much given the quality of the sides, but Bombers, they must show something. I mean, their season's not done with yet. And the Tigers, one thing I've liked under Adam Uzo, they have had a genuine crack. They're a fair way off the best in the business in terms of, but their kids are coming through, and they look like they're playing for their coach, which is a pretty encouraging sign. Yeah, and Essendon, on the other hand, lost by almost 100 points. Zach Merritt had 0 tackles last week for just the third time in his whole career. One was in 2020 in COVID, and the other was in his 11th game. So he lowered his colours, as did the rest of the football club. Like he carries too much for too many, Zach Merritt. Like, he doesn't deserve to be playing for that side. He's a bit like, and the coaches said this, a bit like when Nathan Buckley was at Collingwood when they were struggling. He was the guy, Bucks was the guy, really trying to lift his team. You can see it. Merritt. Cripps at Carlton? Absolutely. Cripps is probably in the same boat. I think, was there a match this year where Merritt, against the Eagles at Optus, for instance, when they won by 3 points. There's been matches this year where we thought without Zach Merritt, they lose the game. Yeah, well, they've won some tight ones against some sides that aren't very good this year. So exactly. I'm going to pick them though. Saying all that. Well, you have to pick. Well, the Bombers, I think, just those outs for Richmond, pretty significant. Lynch is their go-to man in attack, and Bolter he's still a pretty good defender. Carlton v GWS at Marvel Saturday Arvo. Decent game, decent matchup. Toby Green's 250th game, second giant ever behind Callan Ward. So he's been a stalwart of that football club. Been there from the get-go. Giants have won only once out of their last 6 matches at Marvel Stadium, so not really pleasant hunting grounds for them. No, I'm not sure Carlton's huge at Marvel Stadium either. I reckon they prefer the MCG. But I think you made the point last night that Carlton's just not that good. When we think that the Giants can be pretty good, And that's why this game's a tricky one to call. Look, the Giants, I don't think we'll see a worse performance from them, and this is nothing against the Walyalup. I thought they were as bad as I've seen them all year on the weekend. They've lost other matches, but that was just a very, very soft performance from them. So, yeah, I'd expect a bounce back from the Giants.
Thanks to Aspect Accounting, since round 7, GWS have lost the inside 50s by 10.3 per game, worst in the comp. And some ins and outs are trending not in the way that GWS would hope. Finn Callaghan is out for 4 to 6 weeks with a shoulder injury.
Good player.
Jack Silvani's an outside chance to play after being cleared of serious groin damage.
Yeah, he had that iced up last Friday.
And the Blues are hopeful for De Koning, Akers and Fogarty all to be available. So they could have 4 of their very good players in, and GWS loses one of their best midfielders.
De Koning's huge, isn't he? And I suppose selection tonight will give us a bit of a guide, and the markets and our tips might be dependent on the ins and outs on that basis.
I would love to pick Carlton in terms of with all those stuff, but I'm going to pick GWS because I think they're a better side, and I don't think Carlton are very good.
Yeah, I will tip the Giants as well on the basis of they have enough quality. And let's hope, if you talk about Geelong and milestone matches, Toby Green's just one of those guys that you'd think, you see his 250th,
yep.
Yeah, 250th, that there's a response. And most people have got them, even now, as being a top 4 contender. At the moment, they're fair way short of that. I'll tip the Giants with a real question mark.
Gee, they lose this, they're going to be in a bit of trouble, I reckon. Hawthorn v Brisbane, MCG, Saturday Arvo. Hawthorn have beaten Brisbane the last 5 times by an average of 40 points, even when Brisbane have been good, Hawks poor. So Hawthorn have got the wood over Brisbane, thanks to Aspect Accountants. GWS is the only top 8 side Hawks have beaten this year. They're 8th. I think, Skeeter, Hawthorn are due for a run, right? They've been dribbling along, as Brisbane have, to be really honest. But Hawthorn get it done against Brisbane and they go on a bit of a run. I reckon Sam Mitchell will have this block of games set up, and Hawthorn, who play in the next 4 to 5 games, Brisbane, Collingwood, Bulldogs, Adelaide, I reckon they win all 4 of them. And I reckon they're going on a run.
It's a big call because they're not playing super footy, are they,
no.
At the moment? They're not really going. And last week, without the small forwards, Nick Watson was outstanding. I thought he was one of their better players. Skinnervan was showing a bit as well. That's who they relied on. Whether we put the Darwin match into a different basket because just the Gold Coast play it so well. Yeah, put it this way. I think Brisbane are a quality side, but there's some little holes in their team at the moment. We're obviously beaten by Melbourne's not a great sign, drawing against North Melbourne. It feels like they're in a bit of a dip. They banked early wins, which they didn't do last year. They've got the players there, but I tend to agree with you. I think Hawthorn at the G, very tough to beat. And on that basis, I'm not sure they're going to go on a run, but I think they can beat Brisbane on the weekend.
So Hawthorn will have 4 ins on the weekend. They'll have Jack Gunston, their leading goal scorer, Lloyd Meek, their best ruckman, Jarman Impey, probably their best running back, and Connor Nash, who's an inside mid. So they'll have 4 back. Brisbane may get back Berry and Oscar McInerney, both expected to return. I'm picking Hawthorn too, MCG. And Brisbane will fall back to the group a little bit, and I think Hawthorn will go on a run. Anything else to say about that?
No, Hawks win that one.
North Melbourne versus Collingwood, Marvel Stadium, Saturday night. Second game at Marvel for the day.
Yes, it's a real unusual one, isn't it?
So they're going double header. So someone wrote into the podcast on Monday, and they were right, and said the game over here is the only game that's not in Melbourne. So Thursday night, GMHBA Stadium, Friday night, MCG.
There's an Adelaide game.
Shut up. GWS, maybe it was the Adelaide game and the Freo game. The only 2 games outside of Melbourne. Carlton, GWS, Marvel. Hawthorn, Brisbane, MCG. North Melbourne, Collingwood, Marvel.
But then go to May, end of the month, which is next week. There's only 1 game in Melbourne. That's Hawthorn, Collingwood.
Mate, and then Naarm, Sydney, MCG, and then Euroke, Gold Coast, Marvel. There's only 2 games outside of Melbourne.
Yeah, Adelaide and Perth.
That's junk. Absolute junk. Yeah, okay.
Doesn't really affect us, though, does it?
Oh, you don't care, do you?
No, well, we still go to the footy and still get an invoice.
Why are you so dictated by money?
After you've just spoken about how much you're going to give to the punters.
Yeah, I know, mate. I'm a charity, though. I give it away. $20. Go and get your stout right now. Shelterbrewing.com.au. Use Stout20. Tell us if Shelter makes the footy better or not. I want to know. You can put it in socials, YouTube channel, or you can write us an email. Hello at shelterfootycast.com.au. North Melbourne, Collingwood, Marvel.
Remember last year, North led by 9, maybe 10 goals against Collingwood.
They did too.
Yeah, they didn't get across the line.
That was this game at Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. But Collingwood, let's be honest, this time last year weren't tracking anywhere near as well as they are now. They look almost back to 23. In fact, almost better than what they've been playing in 23, to be totally honest, with the additions of Houston, who still hasn't quite, hit the high notes because of injury and suspension. But, yeah, they're going very well, Collingwood. And North, we saw them in their win against Richmond that they won the game, but, gee, they struggle to know how to put sides away. And in a winning position, they still have those massive self-doubts or inability to close out games. So, and Collingwood's a complete opposite.
North Melbourne President Sonia Hood came out and said that the North are going to beat Collingwood. It's going to be the upset of the round. Have you seen that?
She said that.
Yes, that is correct. So Collingwood, thanks to Aspect Accountants, have won their past 5 matches against North, which we'd expect given there's been a premiership in there somewhere.
They've got a few outside.
An average of 18 points only, so it's
tight.
Been quite tight.
Look, Lockie Schultz is going to miss another game as
Darcy
well.
Moore's under a fitness cloud with a shoulder.
Yep, they've got a few that sort of a bit sore, I think.
Jamie Elliott is sick, didn't train. Dan Houston with a calf, didn't train. Nick Dacos, hip, didn't train Tuesday. So, we'll see how those go. Charlie Comben is having a great season as a key defender. He's won 47% of one-on-ones he's defended, the second highest rate in the competition, thanks to Aspect Accountants.
I wonder whether that leads him into any All-Australian discussions.
Well, it should. I think he's been going really well. He sits third in the Jack Buckley medal as well. Skeeter, I know you keep a good close eye on that. I'm going to pick North Melbourne to beat Collingwood. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. Those tipping will sit there and go, well, Scully, go for your life. I'm tipping Collingwood. We saw them without their best team against the Dockers. They did win that comfortably. I'm not saying this will be an easy win, but I think if you're looking at the two clubs.
I'm not picking North.
Aren't you? Why not?
No.
You should.
You've made me feel bad about it.
Why?
Like, you dismissed me again. Well, you're probably wrong again, just like the moon landing. You probably are.
Someone did land on the moon. It was just 3 years after I thought off what I said, but it was.
I don't want to pick him out. I want to pick Collingwood.
Go and pick Collingwood.
Yeah.
But, be safe. Be boring.
You dickhead. Geez, I want to pick North Melbourne. If North Melbourne win, how's this? If North Melbourne win, you've got to buy a carton of stout.
A carton?
Yeah.
I'm going to go through your method, $20.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, deal.
Even if I don't drink stout, okay, yeah, I'll do it.
All right, great.
But I'm not picking them. I'll be barracking for Collingwood big time.
Good.
It's like another multi I've got on.
Yeah, see, that's what I hear. You having a stout, does it make you multi-win? Like, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
Does it make the footy better? You would say yes.
Oh, mate, if I was winning every multi by drinking stout, I'm just on it.
Naarm versus Sydney at the MCG. This is Sunday Arvo, Sydney's first time back at the MCG since last year's grand final. So have they got a bit of the heebie-jeebies about them? We don't know. Sydney aren't really going amazingly, even though they had a good win last week. Christian Petrarca's 200th game. Saw him speak about this, get a bit emotional too about life and the Melbourne Footy Club, and it sounds like they're all good now and they're going forward together, holding hands. Joel Hamling will play his 100th game in his 14th season in the AFL. He's done pretty well.
Well, he's kicked a goal now, hasn't he? And he's now kicked over 100, kicked a goal in 100 games. Interesting this. I know you mentioned this, but Sydney lost 7 of its last 9 at the MCG since the 22 grand final, but Melbourne has won just 3 of its last 15 against the Swans at the MCG. So both teams aren't exactly primed with history on their side here, are they?
No. Skipper Callum Mills had 20 touches and a goal in the VFL.
Too soon?
He has not played for a long time.
Is it too soon to bring him back?
Well, is this his shoulder from the... No.
Not the skateboard.
No,
wrestling.
No, what's this from? I don't even know where he's coming back from.
He's been injured, but he's hardly played in the last 2 years, has he?
No, correct. So, probably. But he is the captain, so maybe one more week and he's back in. He's still the captain. They haven't taken it off him. Joel Amati, Aaron Francis, both out with suspension and a hamstring, so Hayden McLean should be returning. I'm going to pick Sydney to win this one, as long as they play Heaney and Warner in the midfield. They are your best players. Put them in the midfield. I don't want to see Heaney out of the goal square. I'm sick of it. Get them on the bench and get them back out in the midfield, Skeet. I'll pick Sydney.
I've said the Demons can't kick a score. The last 5 rounds, they've averaged 90 points.
So you're wrong.
Prior to that,
so
averaging 61 points.
So you're completely wrong. So you're completely wrung.
For 3 times, you probably, over the last 5 rounds, I am completely wrong, absolutely.
Yeah, that's good to know.
I'm picking Sydney.
Because Melbourne can't kick a score, even though highest score of the side.
Who's going to kick a score for Sydney, though? Noah Marty. Where do they get their goals from?
Oh, you watch. Heaney will be running around down there and it'll do my head in, and then they'll be losing, and then they'll go, oh, geez, we need an injection in the midfield, and then when you put him back in there, he'll have his 15 in the third quarter. They'll roll him. I pick Sydney too. Euroke versus Gold Coast, Marvel Stadium. So the Saints v the Suns. Gold Coast, thanks to Aspect Accountants, have only ever beaten Saints once at Marvel Stadium from 8 attempts, dating back to 2014. It's not ideal. Jack McRae out with a punctured lung does not sound fun. A few times you would have felt like you have a punctured lung, Skeet, but no physical contact, just too many cheekies. Zach Jones had 39 touches, and as the knowledge here around St Kilda is very, very good from our man Isaac. Zach Jones had 39 touches and 9 clearances, and Hunter Clark 27 touches in the twos, so they will likely come in. How do you see this one going, Skeet?
Well, I think you go back 12 months ago, probably the most boring game, lowest scoring game. It's 51-48
was that
in
this
favour.
one?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And Dimmer was, everyone was filthy about it, really. But it was a late free kick, I think, against McAndrew.
That's right.
Yeah, it was. So
Dimmer was filthy. They just lost.
They lost. That's right. Yeah, if you win in that sort of game, you go, yeah, well, that's just we ground out a victory. But when you lose like that, under the lid, and you know what, Ross Lyon, it's going to be the same. I reckon it's going to be one of those dour, really tough game. This is for me the upset of the round brewing. Yeah. I know St Kilda was shite last week.
Well, are you going to pick him?
I'm going to pick him. Yeah, I'm going to pick him.
Not a bit of stout into you and a bit of hero status.
Hang on a second, just have a look at that. That's the West footy tipping at the moment. So I'm not going that bad,
ladies and gentlemen, and we will get this up on socials. The West, which we know is a source for it, it's just absolute.
It's just tipping. It's just tipping. That's all it is.
Truth and
you can have
everything
you have all sorts of possibilities. I think this could be the upset of the round.
So we got the tipping, which I'm in 231st in the Shelter BackChat tipping comp, which is $2,310. If I look to the West,
someone just sent that to me this morning, by the way.
Top 10, we've got John Risdon.
Josh Risdon plays for the Glory.
Okay, go the Glory. Danielle Laidley, this is 9th. 8th, Rick Arden. 7th, Abby Holmes. 6th, Nick White. 5th, Craig O'Donoghue, COD. 4th, Anna Hay, great operator. 3rd, Jacob Weddell. 2nd, Libby Metum.
So you can see, as it gets higher, the less footy knowledge is important.
And first place, ladies and gentlemen, in the West tipping competition is our man, the Shelter FootyCast own, Mark Reddings.
What more can I say?
Well, how about you give us some tips on this show? You're clearly changing your tip. Who's doing your tips there?
I'm doing my own
tips. Is one of your daughters tipping there?
No, they wouldn't know who's playing. That's all me.
You are winning. What do you get if you win that?
Nothing.
Absolutely.
Nothing.
Oh, that is as good as you get. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be keeping our eye on that.
You know what, though? What are we, round 12? I could still finish 15th or 16th by the end of the season.
I pick Gold Coast. Oh, yeah. I guarantee that. Gold Coast, you pick St Kilda for an update.
Euroke is going to win.
Shelter Brewing Co. Beer fresh from the Busselton foreshore. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter FootyCast. All right, comments and questions. We love these. So as of Monday, I want to be hearing about the stout, whether Shelter made footy better for you. If it made it worse, let us know. Shelter FootyCast on socials. You can email us at footycast@backchatstudios.com.au, or you can put some comments in the YouTube channel below. Heaps of comments about Skeet bagging Scully out for not knowing when the moon landing was, even though Skeet said it was 1966 when it was 1969. Let's go through them. Short Ass BD on YouTube says, biggest reveal of the pod, Skeet wasn't alive during the moon landing. I thought he would have been covering it in the news already. That's from Short Ass BD.
Good on you, Short Ass BD,
yeah. This is from Royal...
I've said I got it wrong 4 times. Well, I got the year wrong. 69 was still an important year.
Roy Boyle on YouTube Richard says, this is verbatim, this is just quoting.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Do you even know what year the moon landed on the moon? Sorry. Do you even know what year the man landed on the moon?
Does he know who the man was? I reckon he doesn't.
So I think you said that, and I said, do you? And then you said, of course I do, 1966.
Yeah, okay. So I've made a blue. I've corrected. As soon as you brought it up this morning, I knew that I'd given the wrong year.
Michael says, Skeeter, the moon landing was 1969.
Thank you.
Old Sheriff says, not sure my hearing is working too well. Did Skeeter say man landed on the moon in 1966? Had to replay it several times to check.
Yes, you did hear that correctly.
Rain Man says 1966 was when Australia got decimal currency and the year that St Kilda won their one and only flag.
That.
Man landed on the moon in 1969, you numpty, says Rain Man.
Yeah, good on you, Rain Man. And of course you'd know that.
Hey team, so this is an email that's come in. Hey team, geez, I laughed on Monday when having a crack at Scully for his lack of awareness of history, he firmly declared the date of the moon landing was 1966, 3 years before it really occurred in 1969. I want to make it clear that I was born in 1978, so the moon landing was not something I was around for either, Skeet, but famous date is a famous date. Nice work, Joe. Sleepy Joe. All right, last one, Skeeter. That's not... you switched off, have you?
It's boring now because I've said I got it wrong and I made a mistake. But as soon as you mentioned it this morning, I knew I'd given you the wrong one.
All right, Rogue AI has a question. Scully, you should approach the AFL about the MRO stuff. The fact that you've been a vocal critic and have a platform to explain decisions and be transparent with the public could be the selling point. It would make more sense that someone that disagrees with how it's being done to help would be better than someone who just toes the company line. Look how far it's got them. Rogue AI is on board.
To you to be involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're joking. Look at him. Look at him. Why? Why would that be so funny
because
to you?
Because you change your tune on so many things. Like, poor Michael Chris will be going, okay, Scully, this is what you've got. Okay, great. And then 48 hours later, he's listening to you on 3 podcasts, 2 radio stations on Fox, saying something completely different on 4 different occasions. And he's going, what do you actually believe?
Nothing, not a lot. I might need to find religion because I don't have a lot of belief in anything. I just like being with mates and talking shit. Skeet, that's us.
Done. Good, happy about that.
Finishes off with a sip of this stout going to be nice and warm now. All right, make sure you jump on to shelterbrewing.com.au, get your carton of stout, get my $20, stout 20 at checkout, then tell us, is the footy better with Shelter? Go on, get going. Skeet, finishes off, please, mate. Give us something to finish on a Thursday. Come on.
Well, I'm looking forward to going down south in a couple of weeks and catching up with the Shelter crew because that should be a bit of fun. I'm trying to make. I'm in Dunsborough. I'm going to come up and have a catch up if at all possible. If my lift will drive me there.
If anyone can tell Skeet,
how's that mother and son down south?
How far Dunsborough is from Busselton? I had to explain to Skeet.
No,
it's not very far.
It's not about that. I'm going to have a couple of shelters. I obviously don't want to be driving, and I don't want to be paying $160 to get.
It's not $160.
Well, sometimes they stitch you up when you go to places,
so
don't they?
You're going to make your mum drive you.
Possibly. And now my mum's going to be down there, yes. My wife will have left. She's going up to a party in Perth, and I might stay down there and just get on at the Dunsborough Tavern and have a bet and a beer and a shelter.
Who? With your mum?
She'll just drop me off, and I'll be by myself if need be. I can survive by myself.
I don't believe it. We're done. Go get some stout into you.
Thank you.